At this point, I want us to now invite our guest, who is Tamika. Jude is a Dominican attorney, immigration attorney based in the United States. And you've heard her before explaining what the situation is and giving some details on what have happened and the way in which things worked as far as the whole question of the visa restriction is all about. So this time we're going to invite her, and we want to thank her so dearly for accepting to be our guest tonight.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Yes? Okay, I am happy that I guess this opportunity to speak on such a very important topic. I am a U.S. immigration attorney by profession, and I am Dominican, born and raised in Dominica, so I am not a foreign lawyer claiming Dominica because my parents are Dominican.
Right away,
yes.
Please, Tamika.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I was saying I am happy that I was given this opportunity to speak here this evening. I am a U.S. immigration attorney by profession. I am Dominican, born and raised, not an imported Dominican, a real Dominican. And I have seen firsthand the impact that the restrictions have had on Dominicans. Just so that we have a little bit of context here, initially, the United States announced that they were gonna do a visa ban. That happened previously when President Trump was in office, and the ban was removed. Dominica was nowhere on the radar of the list. There was no indication that Dominica would ever be on that list. However, in June of 2025, a list was leaked, and Dominica was on that list. And part of the reasoning on that was that there were some issues with the CBI program. At that time, we were told that there was no truth to that. And I, of course, had to reassure clients and reassure people that Dominica was not on the list because people were very worried. In December 2025, we unfortunately got the news that Dominica was indeed added to the list with a partial ban. That means that the U.S. has decided that based on the issues that they have identified with the CBI program, they do not trust the Dominican passport. So because of that, they decided that they would put a partial ban. They would not be issuing certain visa types, immigrant visas. The immigrant visas are visas for getting a green card. So an immigrant visa would be like a child filing for a parent filing for a child, spouse filing for another spouse. So those visas, they have said that they are not going to be issuing those to Dominicans. With the previous ban that they had in June of 2025, there was an exception carved for immediate relatives for the immigrant visas. With this new ban, it is stopped. One of the questions I get a lot by people, what if my visa was approved before and my interview is scheduled now? Will I get a visa? The answer is no. Unequivocally, no. There is no having faith. There is no praying to God that they're going to approve you. They are not going to approve you. I have seen enough people go and get denied between January 1st and now to know that that is the reality. With regards to the visitor's visa, if you do the application, you pay the fee, they will give you an interview, but they will ultimately deny you that visa. So it's basically a waste of time and money right now attempting to go to Barbados to get a visitor's visa, a student visa, a J1 visa, because you're not going to get those visas. And that has had an impact on Dominicans. Some people who wanted to go to seek medical attention in the United States have been denied. There are people who already had secured scholarships placements in schools, already made deposits and everything on school, their F1 visas, some of them have been denied, and some of them were not even able to go to do the visa interview because they heard that we have this new ban in place for Dominica. So this is very serious. A lot of people are afraid to travel. Even green card holders are afraid of traveling because they're just not sure what will happen if they do. So this is something that affects Dominicans, not only those who are outside of the US, but also those inside of the US. Because many people are afraid to go see their sick parents. They're afraid to go home for carnival. And that is because they are not sure what would happen if they try to enter the United States. There have been Dominicans who have been subject to secondary inspection when they enter the United States. That is where they pull you off from the line and they put you in a room and they question you. Those questions can go anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 hours, sometimes even longer, before they decide whether or not they're going to let you into the country. There have been some Dominicans who have reported that they got in with, minor questions. But one of the major developments we've seen is that before, Dominicans, like everybody else, were basically allowed to stay in the United States up to 180 days, 6 months, when you go on your visitor's visa. Right now, because we're now on this partial ban list, we now only get up to 30 days to remain in the United States. So you can imagine, I recently spoke to an older woman who her daughter had her first child and she had tried to come up to the States to spend, the first 6 months with her daughter to help her take care of a new baby because the daughter is in school. And when she got to the port of entry, she was told that she's only able to stay for 30 days. The officer gave her 30 days. Now we're in the process of trying to get her an extension on her stay. But this is now more money that a Dominican has to spend because of a circumstance that they had no say in. They did not have any hand in what's happening right now. So those are just some of the implications of the partial ban. One of the other things I was asked to speak about was the agreement to take in deportees or refugees. I see the two terms are being used interchangeably, but they're really not the same. However, the government has not necessarily disclosed to Dominicans exactly what is in that agreement. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what is going to happen outside of how it typically works with other countries who have signed similar or the same agreement. But there obviously is some concern as to exactly how Dominica is going to handle this situation in terms of infrastructure, resources, finances. So what I can say about this is there are serious questions that need to be asked and serious questions that need to be answered. However, at this time, until there is some official guidance or until it's released, the only thing I can say is that Dominica has signed some sort of agreement and there's just not enough clarity right now to say much about it. I did see that the Prime Minister said that we would basically not be receiving criminals. I cannot say much. I mean, there are countries who signed agreements and have stipulated to that. So that is probably what we did too. But outside of that, I cannot say much. I believe I've covered everything in a way that's, I guess, clear enough for everybody to understand. I am here if anybody has any extra questions after the fact. But this is basically, in a nutshell, what the visa restrictions are, the impact it has on Dominicans, and a little bit about the refugee situation.